Quick disclaimer. This podcast is not meant to be professional advice of any kind. It is meant to be informative and entertaining. If you plan to make any changes to your health routines, please see the appropriate professionals before doing so. Welcome to episode 237 of the AGEIST Podcast. I'm David Stewart. Today's conversation is with Rabbi Asher Gottesman. He's an author, he's a spiritual teacher, and someone whose life is really a powerful testament to the idea of transformation.
One of the greatest lines I've ever heard was, religion is for people who are afraid of hell, and spirituality is for those that have been there. Advice I give couples all the time is, when you get home, take 10 minutes each, 5 minutes each, whatever it is, to each share about your day and then listen, and then actively listen.
Yeah.
You notice how whenever somebody's speaking, 90% of the time, you're already thinking of the answer?
Yeah.
Well, then you're not listening.
Right. His new book, Connection, the easiest solution to the world's greatest problem, tackles what many of us are silently suffering from, and that problem is loneliness. Asher's journey takes us from early addiction and disconnection to a place of spiritual alignment, self-compassion, and true community. His message is especially relevant today as rates of loneliness, especially among men at really everyone, at all ages, continues to rise. Our talk is full of insights and practical takeaways on how we can reconnect to ourselves first, and then to each other, and then to something greater than ourselves. Speaking of community and connection, are you part of AGEIST? If not, head over to ageist.com/newsletter to join us. Every Thursday, you'll receive our best-in-class digital magazine. It's packed with new perspectives, expert advice, stories designed to help you thrive. And if you're enjoying this podcast, hey, maybe do us a favor, subscribe and leave a 5-star review. And most importantly, if you can, share this episode with a friend. The more we grow, the more we can amplify ideas and conversations like this one. We'll be back in just a moment after a word from our sponsors. If you know me, you know I don't do filler snacks. I need something that works as hard as me. David Protein Bars deliver 28 grams of protein, 150 calories, and 0 sugar. There's no crash, just clean fuel that actually tastes good. Made with egg white, collagen, whey, and milk protein, my favorite flavors are cinnamon roll, chocolate chip cookie dough, and salted peanut butter. Buy 4 boxes, get the 5th free at the link in our show notes today. Today's show is sponsored by Fatty 15. Fatty 15 features the first essential fatty acid to be discovered in 90 years and is on a mission to restore your long-term health. Go to fatty15.com/ageist. Use the code AGEIST at checkout for 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit. Ever have those days when your brain feels foggy, like the lights are on but nobody's home? We've all had them. That's where Transcriptions comes in. These small, precisely formulated squares are designed by doctors to help you dial in your focus, relax when you need to, or keep your immune system strong. I've been using them lately, and the difference is impressive. I feel more focused at work, and I haven't gotten sick once this year. Head over to Transcriptions.com and use code AGEIST for 10% off. Your future self will thank you. Rabbi Asher is someone who rebuilt his life not with perfection, but with practice. He's created a global community around the idea that everyone is worthy of connection. Worthy. That's a word we're going to talk a lot about in this conversation. Let's give Asher a call right now. Rabbi Asher, so good to see you. I'm really happy you're joining us on the show today. Where does this show find you today?
The show finds me in Los Angeles, California.
Ah, lovely place. I've spent 15 years in that part of the world. Great weather.
Wonderful weather. Used to be a lot of more great things.
Well, life is all change, right?
Yeah, Los Angeles is definitely, California in general has had its problems, but Los Angeles has definitely had its challenges. Let's call it that, or has its challenges.
Indeed. Let's just bust into this. You have a new book. It's called Connection, the easiest solution to the world's greatest problem. Okay, what's the world's greatest problem?
Loneliness. We as human beings want 2 things, right? We want to be seen and we want to be connected. We're pack animals. We weren't meant to be alone. And we're in this world of social media and email and text and all this stuff. And we are the most connected, disconnected society in history. And we're for sure not connected to ourselves, which is probably the most important thing and which prevents us from being connected to others. It's the outsides are defining the insides.
The disconnection from self and disconnection from others. Now, if you don't mind, my understanding is that you had a bit of a bout of addiction, which would seem to be a disconnection from self. And I mean, if you wanted to define addiction, that's probably a pretty good definition of it, right? Disconnection from self and others.
100%. So yeah, I'm 17 years plus sober, and I did struggle for many years. Actually, I struggled from the age of 8 years old onwards with some form of substance. So it was food
Wow.
or then drugs, etc. And it wasn't the problem, it was the solution. It was the short-term problem to the longer-term solution. And the disconnection was that I felt if you really knew me, you couldn't love me. And if I
Oh,
was unlovable, I should be lonely because who would really want to be around an unlovable guy? So then you take substances, which saved my life for a period of time, and that made me lovable or wantable or whatever a bull you want to use in a false way.
talk to me a little bit about substances saved your life. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I believe as human beings, we don't do anything that doesn't serve us. Now, sometimes it serves us in a way that'll kill us, right? But if you're feeling so terrible and you wake up in the morning and you're a victim and your life is so bad and so challenging, then substances numb that and numb that pain. Now, that's why I say it's a short term solution to a longer term problem because it doesn't work in the longer term. That's number one, but it's a short term because it leads to more shame and more negative self-talk in the head and behaviors that actually confirm those beliefs. So that's why it's a short-term solution to a long-term problem. But it's not the problem itself. The problem itself is the message that I give myself, the way in which I treated myself, the way in which I believed the lies my mind was selling me.
How does shame feed into this? You said that behaviors would validate how you felt. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Is shame
Yeah.
an element of that?
Shame is the greatest element of it because guilt is I did something wrong. Shame is I am something wrong.
Wow.
And if I am something wrong, then I'm not fixable. And shame desperately wants to keep me in the place because it thinks that it's keeping me safe, right? It's like stay small. Don't you dare go out of that place. You're a piece of crap. Hey, you're not a good guy. Why are you showing up? And shame, it constantly gives you those negative messages and makes it about you as a human being, as opposed to, hey, you lied. You're not a liar. You lied. Now go fix it. Go clean it up. Right? It's okay. Even if you stole, then you could clean it up. The second you're a thief, that's it. Then how am I going to fix that? I can never clean that up because that's who I am.
So shame leads to shameful behavior to numb out the shame. And now we're in sort of a doom loop here.
There you
Is
go.
that right?
Yeah. Couldn't. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
You're a rabbi. And when I think
Right.
about,
Right.
one of the other things, this idea of connection to others and ultimately connection to something greater than ourselves, some form of spirituality. As a rabbi, that's your gig, man. Right? So,
As a rabbi, that's definitely supposed to be my gig. I guess I wasn't a very good rabbi for a long time. No, that's the shame talking. In the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, one of the greatest lines I've ever heard was religion is for people who are afraid of hell, and spirituality is for those that have been there. Right. So, unfortunately, for a long time in my life, I understood the religious aspects of being afraid of hell. I didn't understand the connection too. And I ran to my religion, and I'm so grateful that I got to learn about it from the ground up. I had to dismantle everything to come back, and I don't necessarily recommend that. Yet that's what my story is. Yet for many, many, many years, it was making deals with God. God was this being that was going to punish me, going to do such things, and yeah, and as a rabbi, I learned a lot of rules. Yet they sat up here, they sat in my head. And another cliche is right, the longest distance is between my head and my heart. But
ah,
spirituality centered in the heart, and rules are centered in the head. And not to say rules don't have a place in the world. We can't we right, and we don't need anarchy. Yet it's about the connection of soul, which right, if we're lucky as human beings, we're here for 100 years, 105 years, whatever, right? As our souls are eternal. At least that's what I believe. I don't want to take it away from anybody else's belief. And I want to say something about the book right now. You do not have to believe anything to get a benefit out of it. Okay. Take every time I use the word God and change it to light bulb. Okay. Have fun. Okay. I don't impose my beliefs on anybody. I don't think you should believe anything. I just pray that you believe that you're great and you have the ability to be great and you're not inherently bad. That's all I want you to believe. if I can impart anything, and that every human being deserves to be loved. I don't care who they are. Now, they may have behaviors that are really unlovable, yet at their core, when they were born, when they came out of the womb, they deserved love. Let's hope they can come back to that place. To me, it was a lot of religious obligations that I studied, and I didn't have a connection to the spiritual aspects of it. And I had a lot of confusion, and I had behaviors that I didn't agree with, and that I, quote unquote, needed that medicine, the alcohol, the drug, the food, to just get rid of those feelings inside of me that were so bad. And I didn't know how to connect to God on the level today that I look at God as the greatest father I can ever imagine, that really loves me entirely, doesn't wish bad upon me, and anything that my God suggests to me, it's just out of love. It's not out of need. He doesn't need me. He wants me. And I had to shift all that. And it's about what I do, not what I don't do. Let's give ourselves credit for what we do, right? Instead of punishing ourselves for what we don't do. So I don't know if that answers the question yet. As to answer briefly is, yes, I was ordained a rabbi. I never really practiced, but yet, even if I did practice, I was practicing ritualistic rabbiing versus internalistically rabbiing, which is really what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be inside out, internal connection. Feel good about yourself. Realize you're worthy. You're worth it, and that actually makes you responsible. And get up and do the right thing.
Absolutely. So it's not black and white, but we have like on one side, we have relationship to God, positive relationship with self, which leads to relationship with others, or maybe the relationship to others led to these other two, or I don't know. They're just sort of in that pile over there.
Mm.
And then on the other side, the addiction side, my guess is very little relationship with God, or if God is maybe a shaming entity in your world, a shame-centered relationship with self, and not quite sure what the relationship with others are, but it's probably not so great. How do you get from A to B?
So how I got from A to B personally was in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. I saw that how beautiful is it that you have a $20 million movie actor, a homeless guy, a CEO, a teacher, a rabbi, a priest, a former Nazi. I mean, I could keep going on with the examples, all sitting in a room for one reason, just to get better. And I realized that if I see them and I believe that they can get better, well, I could do that too. And nobody cared what my last name was, what I did. You know, the message I got as a young child is, what do you do to be lovable? Right? How much are you going to give? How much are you going to study? What charity? Whatever it is, these messages that we have to do. And the message that I at least got when I saw this in the room was, no, we're lovable because we're here. Period. I woke up today. That means I deserve to be loved. Now, next step, is my action going to be lovable or not? True humility to me is I'm no greater than, nor no less than anybody, which means I got to just do the right thing. I got to be responsible. I can't get away with it. I can't act myself out of it. I actually got to do the deed. And that's what I learned in these rooms. And then I said, okay, so how do I first find like for Asher? Right? I didn't have love for Asher. So if you would have told me to love Asher, how do I find like for Asher? Okay, I could like that I'm a charitable guy. I love my children. Yeah, I can find things I like about me. And okay, let's focus on that. Okay, you like that you're a father. So how you becoming the best father you can be, right? So now first I gotta like me. I gotta own that role, and now I gotta give it away. And how do I give it away? I have to prioritize where and learn how I can connect with others. And we've been told for so long that you got to connect with others in specific ways. And I'm saying, no, if I love baseball, okay, so let me connect with others in being service to baseball. If it's taking young kids to a baseball game, it's coaching little league, right? There's so many different things I could do. Connection doesn't have to be about anything specific. It has to be about creating a community of things that you like and finding that way. And that's the greatest way to get back, because then you don't feel lonely. Because I don't necessarily like playing the ukulele, but if you could definitely find a community of people who love playing the ukulele, and then you get seen and you see.
I want to circle back to this idea of creating community, but I'm going to get back to sort of the genesis of your transition here. Would you say it was the a change in thinking led to a change in doing, or did the doing lead to the change in thinking? Because you separated those two things out. What happened there?
Yeah, it was the doing. You can act yourself into right thinking. You can't think yourself into right acting.
Wow. Been my experience.
Right? I had this desire to stop feeling terrible inside. And then I walked into a room of people who actually did that, who openly and honestly and transparently said, I got rid of the substances and now I'm living a good life. Right? I didn't want to get rid of the substances if I'm not living a good life. Right? That would really suck. And I asked them how they did it. And they did it by acting themselves into right thinking, by being of service, by being kind, by
Yeah.
showing up, right? Even when they didn't want to, even when their mind said you don't belong. I had a sponsor that said to me, you are not allowed to have a conversation with somebody that's not in the room, right? Don't talk to
Took me a moment to get where
right,
you were going with that. Okay.
right? Because your head is your worst enemy, man. It's that imposter syndrome. It's telling you you're bad. Might as well not try, whatever. All this, if we spoke to others the way we speak to ourselves, right? We punch them in the face, right? Or they punch us in the face in that matter. We don't have stop. It's easy to say stop. Now the question is how. So based on exactly what you just said, David, it's acting yourself into right thinking.
I sort of make fun of myself. It's very Action Jackson over here because I'm a big believer on take an action, see what happens. If you don't take an action, you're never going to know.
Right.
You know, do something new, see what happens.
Exactly.
But now I want to get to this idea of creating community, and you have a community. So tell me about that, how you created that, why you created that, what that's about.
So I saw in the Jewish community something really, really beautiful, very charitable, very caring, and very kind. I also saw in the Jewish community something really terrible, judgmental, look down at others, not look at equal, and look it up at others. And which I really didn't like. So I said, well, how can I take the aspects that I like and make a community out of it and treat others the way I want to treat myself. And then in
Mm,
turn, I will treat myself that way. And what I did learn is when I was helping others, it made sense of my own pain, right? So I utilized my pain that I had to now help others. So it became an education as opposed to just pain for no gain, as they say. Number one. Number two is when I was helping others, I wasn't thinking about me. The time I
right.
didn't want to be thinking about me, right? And when I was helping others, I felt good.
Yeah.
And so I got the ultimate benefit, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay because we talk about selfless and that, excuse my language, is BS. There's no such thing. Even Mother Teresa did it because God wanted her to do it or whatever it is. And that's okay. We're allowed to be selfish for the right reasons. We're allowed to own our greatness. It's just as long as we don't think it makes us better than you.
I think somewhere in there you use the word usefulness. And that idea, I have a trick that I use. And some people tell me like they go to a party, you go to a gathering, and right away, what happens, right? There's the like, I don't belong. I don't like these people. They don't like me. You know, this is weird. What am I doing here? And suddenly you enter this, sort of paralyzed state.
Yeah.
Right. And the solution to that is be useful. So you go to who's ever running the party and you say, hi, can I help you take the drinks out? Oh, there's some garbage over here. Let me clean that up for you. And as soon as you go into that mode, the that voice that you talked about, it's just gone, right? It's not there anymore. So now you're part of and you have a purpose, right? You're useful. And that's my trick to deal with social awkwardness, is to be useful.
I wish I wrote that in the book, number one. Thank you so much, number two. And number three, now I gotta call you rabbi 'cause now you're my teacher. So, see, that to me what a real rabbi is, a teacher from love saying, "Hey, I'm socially awkward," or I feel socially awkward at times, so this is what I do to solve that," right? That's humility, right? And that's so thank you, Dave. I really appreciate it.
So tell me about there's so much here, Asher, because I think you're correct. This idea of, as we began the conversation, the world's greatest problem, loneliness, separation from others, and probably separation from self and, from something greater than ourselves. I like to say we are in the age of the distraction economy. Distraction is monetized. we're sort of constantly assaulted with things. This is going to become more and more and more, incomprehensibly more so. The antidote to that is then connection, as I understand.
Mhm.
So, what you said, creating community. So, if I like baseball, go to a baseball game. I think that this idea of, as we become increasingly digital, so more and more of our cognitive stuff is going to get offloaded into this digital realm. Okay, that's great in a way. Okay, that's good. It's smarter than I am. Okay, cool. But we need to do this other thing. So, what is your advice to people who are out there who are, I think addiction is another thing. Let's just deal with like they're lonely. To me, addiction is a very serious thing. Let's just say we're lonely and we feel we're not clicking. What do we do?
The first thing I'd suggest is let's try and find something you like or remembers a time when there was something you liked. Because
Mm.
very often when you're lonely and stuck and sad, you can't remember. Yet, okay, go back to 3 years old, 2 years old, 5 years old, 8 years old. I don't care what. Just go back to something that you really liked. And then once you find that, go try and do that with somebody else. Whatever it is. You want to play Lego? But loneliness, we think, is if you're just alone. Okay.
Mm.
You could be in a room full of people and still be extraordinarily lonely. Right. So, right. Because, right. If you really knew what I'm thinking, you'll never talk to me. But there's so many different ways to be lonely, but yet go back to that place. And, if you like Dungeons and Dragons, so the great news is you can go online today and find a community for anything. Yet what I'm asking is don't stop there. Search the community for anything, whatever that is, and then please try and do it in person because there's no replacement for in person. And the digital folly or the lie is that we are connected and we're not,
I
right?
know.
We're not. We need physical touch. We need human interaction. We don't not digital human interaction. And yeah, and AI is I don't want to get into the whole craziness of AI, but AI could be great. Ask it questions. Help use it to assist you to find that thing. Like you don't want to go to a movie by yourself? Great, no problem. Find out the movie and see if there's a community of people going to the movie. I don't know. Figure it out.
I love that you said that, right? So I think that AI is wonderful at this, right? It's
Yeah.
like I use it as like, my smarter friend. Well, not friend. He's not my friend, but smarter entity,
Smarter
and
assistant.
and to go assistant, yes, and to just type in and say like, I like Japanese animation movies, and I want to hang out with other people. What should I do? It's going to tell you. Like you don't have to think about it anymore. It's just going to say you can go here, right? Now the thing is, what you pointed out, you need to leave the house.
Yeah, you gotta actually do it. There's right? That's it. You gotta do it.
You got to
And
go out the door.
well, what if I go out the door and I go and it sucks? I said, "Okay, then I'll refund you your misery that you're having at home anyway." So
Right?
what? What
So
if your
what?
worst fear about that event is true?
Yeah, right. And the other framing of this, Asher, is, we can say, Stoic folks would say, well, how bad can it be? Right? Like, let's look through the worst possible outcome. And I would like to change that and just say, like, what good thing could happen here? Can we, right, get out of this negativity loop a little bit? Can we imagine, like, positive outcome? What could that be? Right?
Yeah, that is ideal. Yet what I find is when we're in a state of loneliness and when I find
Mm.
people are lonely, they're looking for the reason why not.
Yeah.
You sound, and I don't know you very well, you sound more optimistic. You're an optimist or you're looking for the positive. That is what I want you to get out of this book, to look at the positive, to look at the good that may come out of this. I want you to get rid of that negative self-talk in your head to actually go try and do it. So if you need to say, how bad can it be? Fine. Yet you're right. You will have a much, much greater result. I swear to it if you're going, how good can it be? Right. And again, illness is the greatest form of loneliness, right? I mean, when you have an
Mm.
ill, right? Yet it's known if you have positive belief, you're more likely to get better than if you don't have positive belief. Okay. I don't know percentages. Yet if heaven forbid someone has cancer
Yeah.
and they have a positive outlook, they are way more likely to
Uh-huh.
heal than they are if they
Yep.
have a negative outlook. Okay.
That's right.
Scientifically proven. So if you have that cancer, you don't want to talk to your family about it. You don't want them to feel bad for you, whatever it is. Go to ChatGPT, go to Grok, whatever I don't want to pick the LLM Or go actually, if you just put it in Apple now, your AI comes down and ask, how do I find a community of people that are suffering from cancer that be positively supportive of me without going to a support group? Go for it.
Right,
Ask.
right, right. Apologies for the interruption. We'll jump right back into our conversation with Asher after a brief word from our ad partners who make this podcast possible. I've always believed that what we eat, especially when we're on the go, can either push us forward or hold us back. And as someone who's constantly moving between travel, work, and workouts, I need snacks that actually do something, not just filler. That's why I'm a huge fan of David protein bars. These aren't your average protein bars pretending to be healthy. Each one packs 28 grams of protein, 150 calories, and 0 grams of sugar. That's right, zero. Built on the real science of satiety and energy, milk protein, egg white, collagen, wait, all blended to deliver a complete amino acid profile. It's like a little powerhouse in your pocket. No crash, no sugar spike, no regret. And the best part, they taste great. My favorites being the cinnamon roll, chocolate chip cookie dough, and salted peanut butter. These are bars made for people like us who care about how we feel after we eat, not just during. To be honest, I was eating these daily before David Protein ever reached out to partner. That's how much I believe in them. If you want to snack smarter, fuel better, and take one small step toward the life you're aiming for, this is a great place to start. Get to the link in our show notes. When you buy 4 boxes, you get the 5th free. That's a good deal for something that actually makes you feel good. Today's episode is also brought to you by Fatty 15. The story here is that Fatty 15 co-founder Dr. Stephanie Venn Watson discovered C15 while working with the U.S. Navy to improve the health and welfare of aging dolphins. Her discovery marks the first essential fatty acid to be found in over 90 years. C15 is known to work in a few ways. It repairs age-related damage to our cells, it protects our cells from future breakdown, boosts mitochondrial energy output, and activates those pathways in the body that help regulate things like sleep and mood. Fatty 15 is on a mission to replenish your C15 levels and restore your long-term health. You can get an additional 15% off their 90-day subscription starter kit by going to fatty15.com/ageist and using the code AGEIST at checkout. There's a lot of talk about how bad AI is, but one of the things, to my experience anyway, AI will not shame you.
Exactly.
AI will not say, how dare you ask that question? Why don't you know the answer? It's not going to happen.
You said it so perfectly. We look for the bad, the wrong. We don't look for the good.
Yeah.
And AI does have its challenges. I'm not here to say it doesn't. Yet another premise to my book was, if you look to the 60s, we had a generation that said, screw religion, right?
Sure.
Enough. Mom and dad, I'm not going to church with you anymore. It's boring. It sucks. I'm not going to synagogue. Okay. You feel you have to. I don't have to, which I admire their ability to take care of themselves. Yet, unfortunately, they replaced it with no solutions, right? They replaced it with anti-war, anti-this, anti-that. And they could have easily said, let's make concerts of religion. I don't care, whatever it is. Actually, look at Fish, right? Look at the dead. People did do that, and it made them feel part of something. And when they disbanded, unfortunately, they added too many drugs to it. But let's take that aside from it. Let's find solutions. Let's find the positive. Let's not look at the negative constantly. Now, give yourself a break for looking at the negative, because as human beings, we're supposed to. What do I mean?
Yeah.
When we were hunters and gatherers, if we didn't look to the negative, we get eaten.
That's right.
We had to be on the lookout. So give yourself a break. Say, you know what? Whatever, 4,000 years ago or 4 billion years ago, whatever you want to say, in that environment, I was supposed to look for the bad. The good news is today, I don't have to do that.
As we're talking and community and such, one of the things that I've learned is that the vast majority of people really want to connect with you. And many of them out there are just as lonely as you are and living in their own little bubble. And when we think about usefulness, I think one of the highest forms of our usefulness, Asher, is, if only for a few seconds, being able to reach out to somebody and say, perfect stranger, somebody in the elevator, you just say like, hey, nice shoes, or like your dog, or, oh, it's warmer today, like whatever. And you'll see them, there'll be like this sort of snap. Like what you said, everybody wants to be seen and recognized. So I see you, I recognize you. And there's this immediate sort of like, oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, it's colder today. Or, oh, yeah, my dog's name is Timmy, or, whatever. And, so this lasts like 10 seconds until the next floor. Okay. I have never done that and felt worse for it, ever,
Exactly. Never.
never.
And you never know, you may save someone's life. There are all those stories,
Right,
right? That said,
right,
walking home, somebody said, "How was your day?"
right.
And the person said, if nobody talked to me today, I was gonna kill myself." Well, you saved that person. And again, that's dramatic, yet it's dramatic because it's true. You never know what good morning. Now, don't say, "How you
Yeah,
doing?" and then walk away, right? If you're sincere, right?
yeah,
"How are you
that
doing?" And look at the
right,
person and let them answer,
yeah,
right?
seen and heard.
If you're literally just doing it to get it out of your mouth, right? The "Good morning, good morning, how you doing?" "Okay, bye." You
Well,
then that's more harm than good, right? Because you could just stop at, "Good morning. I really wanna ask you how you are. I'm just so busy and I don't have the presence of mind. Hopefully, I'll have the presence of mind later. Just know that I'm thinking about you. Have a good day."
that's right. And the other sort of pro tip here is if somebody wants to engage with you, stop talking about yourself. Ask them about them.
Right.
Just say it. Works out better that way.
Right. Most of the time, we'll walk away from a conversation. "So, what did you learn?" "Nothing." I told them all
Right,
about myself.
right.
Give the
Like,
gi
why are you imposing all this shit on them? They don't care about you. Like, assume they're in their head and they really care about them. And so, like, ask them about that. And I think when we're nervous, Asher, the default is like always to talk about like, well, this is what I feel is what's going on with me. And you're going to make a better connection when you ask about like the other person because they want to be seen and heard. And that's where the value is. That is your usefulness there, right?
Well, how cool would it be if you walked into the conversation and you said vulnerably, "I'm nervous,
Yeah.
and I tend to wanna talk about me when I'm nervous, and yet
Yeah. Oh,
I really wanna know about you.
yeah.
Can you help me?" By the way,
Oh
they'll
my
be so
God.
much more willing to talk about themselves
Oh
because
my God.
you made yourself a human.
You would blow somebody's mind if you said that. They would I love that. That's really great. I learned this trick from my wife. Whenever she goes somewhere, she says, "I'm new here. It's my first time here. Can you show me what goes on?" And it's like instantly she's connected to the whole thing, right? Versus me, the dumb guy is like, "Oh, I know what's going on here. I got this." And I'm just like on the periphery, right? I'm not right.
And again, the advice I give couples all the time is when you get home, take 10 minutes each, 5 minutes each, whatever it is, to each share about your day and then listen, and then actively listen.
Yeah.
You notice how whenever somebody's speaking, 90% of the time, you're already thinking of the answer?
Yeah.
Well, then you're not listening.
Right.
Alright. And it is natural. Again, remind yourself it's natural because one of the scariest things to a human being is to change their mind. Their sense of self goes away. So if you listen, you may have to change your mind. Stop being afraid of it. If you listen, you may actually learn something new. How many people go through life being in a relationship with somebody and really know nothing about them?
Yeah, sadly, I would say a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Top 3 tips for connection. Tell me.
Just be vulnerable and authentic. Number one, just be you. You're great. You're worthy of love. And if you're an adult, look at little you. If you were 5 years old, would you yell at that person? Would you not? Right? That person just had fun and just did it. Just number one, just do it. Right? As you said, act yourself into right thinking. Just do it. Okay. Number two is please remind yourself that you are lovable. And that doesn't mean more than you're worthy of love. And that means also that you can go out there and there are other people that will love you. Okay. That's it. Okay. And if you go to the room of somebody that doesn't, go to the next room. Don't use it as evidence that you're not lovable. Okay. 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 Stop looking at the negative. Okay. I know it's overwhelming evidence of the negative, and society has taught us to look at the negative, and stories of negative sell better than positive. I get it. Okay. So stop buying that BS. Okay. Get out of your head. Stop listening to your head. And if you can't compliment yourself, try and compliment others because they'll teach you how to compliment yourself. Or ask those that love you, "Why do you love me? Tell me a couple good things about me," right? If you don't know anything good about yourself, ask somebody else. Let them tell you, and if you have nobody else to tell you, you said it, David, go ask somebody what the name of their dog is. Say, "Good morning." Go to the dog park. Go borrow a dog and go to the dog park. I don't care. Right? In Starbucks, talk to somebody, and if they look at
Yeah.
you like you're crazy, go talk to the next person. Don't worry about it. You never know. You actually may get happy. You may actually feel less lonely, right? The bad right? The bad ain't gonna happen. The good may actually happen.
It's this idea of changing the mind, can be challenging. We can be presented with all kinds of evidence, when we talk, like circling back to what we talked about, shame and such. And we can be presented with all kinds of evidence that we are really not the hateable person that we think we are. It doesn't sort of get through that gate, like whatever that gate is in the back of the head. But the good news is my favorite Malcolm Gladwell quote is the great thing about having a brain is you can change your mind.
Right, and you don't have to be stuck in one way, and it is true that the human condition is we are more comfortable with the pain we know and understand than the potential for greatness, guys, than the potential for greatness. That's why we stay in domestically violent relationships. We keep people in our lives that are not good for us. We treat ourselves in ways that are not good for us. Yeah. In the Bible, there's the story we leave Egypt, saw the greatest miracles of all time. Forget if the story's true or not. Let's get to the message, right? So, and then we get out of Egypt and we're in the desert and we ask for some meat and we don't get meat that is up to our standards. And we say, God, you should have left us in Egypt, right? Where we were slaves, we're getting, working all day. So, human mind, we're more comfortable with discomfort. And that was the message there. The message there, it's not about the story, it's about the message. The message there is remind yourself it is your natural tendency to look for the bad. And that's easy. Why don't you try the other way? It'll be much more rewarding and look for the good. Remind yourself that out there, as David said, right? This David right here said, out there, it may be really, really good. You may go to that movie event and it may be the greatest movie you ever saw, and you meet the love of your life, and you meet the guy who's gonna give you a job that's gonna give you $1 trillion, okay? But if you don't go out there and you
Right.
stay stuck at home, it can never happen.
That's right.
And if you do it digitally, it still can never happen, okay? You could go to the greatest lecture in the whole world, and you may hear the lecture, but you may not be able to ask the guy the question afterwards in person, and you may not meet your best friend, right? Or you definitely won't if it's digital.
Yeah, you got to go out the door. Just wrapping up here, you use the word greatness. Asher, what does greatness mean to you?
Greatness means to me living your best life. I believe that every human being has a unique gift that only he or she brings to the world. I really believe it. And greatness is starting to work towards that and accepting your greatness. Now, the key is not to think it makes you greater than anybody else or better than anybody else. It just means you're great. Just because you're the best basketball player in the whole world doesn't mean you're a better guy than I am. Yet it does mean you're the best basketball player in the whole world, and go live up to it, enjoy it, and appreciate it. And that's greatness to me. Greatness to me is appreciating my talents and keeping humility still, knowing that it doesn't make me better than, because you have talents too, and appreciating each other's talents. And I could, because if I don't appreciate my own talents, I can't appreciate yours.
That's wonderful. I think we live in an age where there are some people who, well, I'm just going to name names. Mr. Musk, very successful businessman. From what I can tell, a horrible parent, just a nightmare, like really bad husband, boyfriend, all this. I like what you said, like living your best life, being the best version of you. Sometimes I feel that we don't aim for greatness because we define greatness as these sort of characters. And that's not what we're talking about here. That there's another kind of greatness. I will say, most of us, probably you and I included, what frightens us most is our greatness.
Sure.
It's
Well, because
not
it makes you responsible, right?
that's
If
right.
and it also gives you that challenge to not use it to separate yourself from others,
Right.
right?
Right.
I just believe in the commandment that says, "Don't think that because you have a gift, you're better than." And don't think because you don't have a gift or your gift in your mind is not as great as their gift, you're worse than,
Right.
right? You are right exactly where you're supposed to be, even though you don't necessarily believe it. And you have greatness. You do. You're not bad. You may have made really bad decisions and you got to clean the street up, right? That doesn't excuse your behavior. Go clean it up. Yet also see your greatness.
Yeah. Asher, this has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
As an optimist, I should have expected good outcome. I always expect good outcome, but this is a better outcome.
So, I get so much out of these conversations because I get to learn, and you taught me, right? You taught me a lot today, so thank you, and that's the key. And this is what it's about. It's a conversation, right? It's not about what I'm saying and it's not about what you're saying. It's about what we're saying. And 1 plus 1 is far greater than two when it comes to human connection.
That's right. Thank you so much. Your book is Connection, Easiest Solution to the World's Greatest Problem. The world's greatest problem is loneliness. So let's get rid of that, right? Buy the book.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you so much, Asher. It's
Thank
great
you
having
for
you on.
having me on.
Take care now. Bye. What a great conversation. My thanks again, Rabbi Asher Gottesman. Something powerful about somebody who's walked through the fire and, been cracked open by life and then chooses connection and community as a way forward. I really like the bit in this conversation about shame. I think shame plays such an important part in addiction and also with loneliness, right? I think all of this is sort of part and parcel. Addiction, of course, being on the, one end of the spectrum for sure. But I think this idea of loneliness and disconnection is something that's really part of the time that we live in. What really stayed with me is this strategy when you're feeling insecure, try to only have conversations with the people who are in the room with you, meaning stop having negotiations with the voice in your head because connection, real connection, often lives just on the other side of that discomfort. Let's fire that guy that's in our head. He's not going to do us any good. If today's conversation moved you, share with someone who might need to hear it. Thanks again for spending this time with us. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already, hit subscribe, leave us a review. It helps us reach more people who need these conversations. This week in our newsletter, we've got a profile of film producer Chris Durrance. He's been working with Bradley Cooper in a new documentary, and it's called Caregiving. And it's all about elder care in the hospice industry that so desperately needs innovation and refresh. Oh my gosh. In health sciences, we've got some new studies out there on heart disease, deaths being linked to chemicals used in many of the plastics that are out there, as well as scientific evidence on why waistlines expand in middle age. Whew, wish I knew what the answer to that was. Make sure you're tuned in to ageist.com/newsletter. On a personal note, oh my gosh, all right, I know this is totally boring, but I've basically been homebound. I've been horizontal for the best part of the last 2 weeks because I had, yes, indeed, I finally did it, knee surgery. And this was not something that I came to easily as listen to this podcast. No, I've been talking about this for a few years. And so I finally had it done. And so what they did was what's called unilateral knee replacement. So you have three compartments in your knee. You have the medial, which is on the inside. You have the patellar in the middle, and the lateral that is on the outside. And I didn't know any of this when I started into this, but now it's like, learn the jargon and you get comfortable with it. So what they did was they opened my knee up and they went into the lateral compartment of my left knee and they put in something called a focalplasty, which is about the size of a dime. And there's a piece of titanium. We'll just say attach. They attached it to my femur. That's the big bone in your thigh. And they put this slippery plastic piece on my tibia. That's your lower leg. And then because when they went in there, they saw that it needed being done, they stitched my meniscus, which was torn. And the stitched meniscus is just like a whole other recovery bonus. That's something that's going to take in and of itself a little while. So upside here is my knee is locked in a brace for 4 weeks. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks out of surgery. I've not been able to put any weight on, not because it hurts, but they just don't want me to damage any of the work that they've done in there. And I get my stitches out tomorrow. So that'll improve things. I have to say that one of the downsides, one of the things about surgeons is they really overpromise on recovery and they tend to massively underdeliver. I've had maybe 5 surgeries. I had a couple of organ removals. I had some other stuff done. And they're always like, oh, yeah, 4 weeks to be doing this, 6 weeks to be doing this. That's just never the case. These things take a long time. And I finally got the recovery plan and it's 20 weeks. It's going to be 2 months before I get all the swelling to go down, allegedly. We'll see. I feel like I should probably do an episode just on all the different modalities I've got, working on this. And my living room looks like a sports rehab center. I've got electrostim devices. I've got pressure devices. I've got like cooling cuffs and all kinds of stuff. Um, so we'll at some point do a roundup on what I think is actually working. And one of the things that I've learned here, I went to Kelly Starrett, the supple leopard guy, who does the mobility workout of the day. Great, brilliant, brilliant man. And he has a video series about recovering from total knee replacement. But that's not what I had. So I had prepared 2 weeks beforehand for that recovery protocol. But the thing about total knee replacement is there is no tissue in between the two parts. They take it all out. So you have no meniscus. You don't have an ACL. You don't have an MCL. These things are removed. So there's no need to be sort of careful about these things recovering. In my case, that's not true. So there's a lot of my natural physiology still there, and it's been repaired and needs to heal. So it turns out that this whole recovery protocol that I spent a lot of time preparing for and gearing up for is really not the thing. There's going to be some returns happening soon. What I'm trying to get at here is that what we often talk about here, we're just not all the same. And these surgeries are not all the same. And what may work really well for one sort of thing may not work well for the thing that you're doing or the thing that you've got, even though they're related. It might be the same joint, it might be kind of similar, but they're not the same. So, lesson learned there. We'll be right back with Just Try This after a final word from our sponsors.
We all want to think clearer, feel better, and perform at our peak, but brain fog, stress, and fatigue can get in the way. That's where Troscriptions comes in. Troscriptions isn't just a supplement company. They're a team of doctors, scientists, and biohackers creating pharmaceutical-grade, precision-dosed nootropics that help you optimize your mind and body. Unlike traditional supplements,
They're buccal troches.
those small, dissolvable squares bypass digestion and deliver fast, effective results. Whether you need deeper focus, stress relief, better sleep, or stronger immunity, Troscriptions has science-backed solutions for you. Some of their top formulas include TroCalm for instant stress relief and a sense of balance. They have TroMune, which I use every day. It's a powerhouse immune and inflammation fighter with cordycepin to keep you resilient. There's Blue Canatine, a game-changing nootropic for sustained energy, sharp focus, and cognitive performance. Personally, I've been using TroMune all winter, and I haven't gotten sick. Not only does it boost my immunity, I'm sleeping deeper, waking up more refreshed. If you're serious about upgrading your brain and your body, check out Troscriptions because better performance starts with better biochemistry. Use the code AGEIST for 10% off at Troscriptions.com. That's AGEIST for 10% off because you deserve to think, feel, and perform your best.
This week on Just Try This, let's talk about sonic environments, noise. Stop, breathe, and listen for a moment. What are you hearing? You feel a bit more relaxed now? Studies show that positive soundscapes can have a profound effect on your mood and mental acuity. And over the next few days, notice which sounds stress you out, like leaf blowers. Oh my God, leaf blowers go directly into my brain and short circuit it. I cannot think with a leaf blower on. There's something about that frequency makes me absolutely insane. But everybody's got their own thing, right? So maybe it's like a TV being on, maybe it's the traffic. I'm in New York today, so just out my window, if I pay attention, I can hear the N train going over the Manhattan Bridge. It doesn't really bother me too much, but maybe some people it makes them crazy. Maybe that's their own leaf blower. I don't know. So you're going to try out some noise canceling headphones, maybe some kind of calming playlist. Wind chimes. I know that sounds so dorky, but they kind of work. If you can bring any sort of like natural sounds into your environment, I find this really helps. When I go out for a walk, one of the things I notice are the birds or the sounds of the wind through the trees. If you really want to get into this, visit a Japanese garden and key in on some of the various soundscape managements that they use at play there. Harmful chronic noise activates the body's stress response. Not good. Elevating cortisol levels. So by designing a peaceful audio environment, you can actively lower your stress and improve your cognitive clarity. Studies show that exposure to natural soundscapes like rainfall, wind through trees can reduce your sympathetic nervous system activity, that's the stressed out one, and promote relaxation and focus, parasympathetic, rest and relax. We like that. So everybody, try and get control of what you're bringing in through your ears. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and leave us a review. We love hearing from all of you and want to know who you want to see on the AGEIST podcast. Hey, give us a shout. There's somebody out there that you've heard recently that you think we should speak to, questions you want us to ask. Bring it on. Love to hear from you. Take good care of yourselves. Have an awesome day, and we'll see you next week. Take care now.